how do you sell yourself best in an interview? It starts with understanding what it is the employer wants. And a few weeks ago, I want to say about a month, one of you during one of the live shows had asked me, you said, Coach Andy, I was asked in an interview to actually prepare a presentation and map how my skills fit for the position. So I'm going to walk you through how I would think about preparing this presentation, what the sections are of it, and how you could do it in long form or even in one snapshot of a slide. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. Let me know, what is your biggest struggle when putting a presentation together? I know we struggle with answering interview questions in general, but what is your biggest struggle with putting a presentation together like this? And I do want to focus on this particular scope today, how your skills map to the jobs you're pursuing, a particular job itself, or any of the types of employers that you're trying to pursue. Okay, let's start. I got some note cards. I want to walk you through these concepts. First thing is, I want you to realize that even if an employer asks you, put a presentation together and mapping how your skills map to the job description, or even if they don't ask you to put a presentation together, but they actually ask you, how do your skills map to doing this job? That is not what they're buying. They do not buy your skills. They do not buy features. And if you don't believe me, I want you to imagine for a second, step back. You're not a job candidate anymore. You're a customer. Anything that you buy in your life, why do you buy it? Why do you buy the product? Why do you buy the service? Usually, not always, it's because of transformation. It's what it's going to do for you. It's how it's going to make you feel. It might be a tool that is going to enable you to do something better. If you're a drill salesman, I use this analogy from time to time. You can sell the drill and its features. You can sell the hole in the wall that it's going to create for you so that you can put the nail in, so that you can hang the picture, or you can sell the feeling of looking at that picture every day. That's what the drill creates. And so what is it that you buy as a customer? You buy transformation, right? We always swipe on the Instagram, right? We see the washboard tummies and the washboard abs, right? We're buying the end product. We're not buying the 2 hours a day of sweating it out for a month or a year. We're not buying eating, less calories or whatever the diet is going to be that's going to help you, because abs are made in the kitchen, but you get the idea. So I want you to keep that in mind, because the first thing that you need to understand is, well, what are the employer's goals? So if I was going to give a presentation, literally, I would be talking about what is it you want to happen? Not just how my skills map, but what are we shooting for? And the first thing that you should do, even before you start job searching, is think about your target organizations, what it is they want to achieve, how it is you're going to help them achieve that, based on how you've helped other organizations or teams or whoever it is, customers, achieve those goals in the past. So you start with, well, what are the top 3 goals? Well, the marketing team's goals are what? They want more leads. They want them faster. They want them cheaper, because they want to build their brand and they want to sell to the customers. They want those leads to convert at a high rate. We know this to be true. If you're running a project and you're the IT project manager and you're trying to implement a project, an IT project, you're probably implementing a system of some type so that it will streamline their processes and their operations. Maybe it's an analytics engine to gather data so that they can make better decisions, so that they can sell better. Maybe it's making processes more efficient so that they can save money. Whatever it is, I want you to think about, what is it that you help companies do? Ultimately, what is the goal? Your goal is not your activity, right? The goal of the marketing team is not to put in a system that allows you to collect data. That's an activity that helps you achieve the ultimate goal of generating more leads, becoming more well-known in the market, in your space, whatever it is. So how are you actually graded today? What are your ultimate objectives that you're trying to help the team attain? That's a great place to start. You can always use your favorite AI tool. and say, hey, I'm on the marketing team. What are the marketing team's top 3 goals? Usually, any marketing team that exists or has ever existed or will exist for all time wants those goals that I just gave you. Whatever it is that you do, if you're the engineer who creates the semiconductor, I want you to create me a semiconductor as fast as possible, as cheaply as possible, and I never want it to break or burn out. Right, so you get the idea. So what are the goals? Everything starts with the goals. If you understand what these goals are before you give your presentation, you're going to be way ahead of the game. But even if you don't, you can still anticipate what they are likely to be based on your experience in doing the job. And if you've never done the job before, then A, question why you're interviewing for it, but B, you can use your favorite AI tools or whatever, but you got to come up with the goals. That's numero uno. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is, what is standing in your way as an employer in achieving those goals? It's the problems. Now, I'm telling you that it's very easy to identify what the goals are because they're pretty straightforward. They really are. Don't overcomplicate that. Now, the problems are a little bit different because every organization, every team that you're targeting may have different problems in attaining the goal. What do I mean by this? Well, a lot of you, the 169 of you that showed up on time today, I'm going to make an assumption. Some of you I've met, and most of you I have not met. I'm going to make an assumption that all of you want to either find a new job, or change careers to a better career, or you're my mom. Okay, that's basically who's here right now. And so I know your goal is to find a job you love, get paid more, right? That'd be better. More's nicer. It's not the be all end all, but more is better, right? Get paid what you feel you're worth, be appreciated, right? Learn, grow, and those kind of things. I know all of you want that. There's not a person in the world that doesn't want that, right? But what I don't know is what Deb Lemishow's specific problem is, or Edward L's specific problem, or Michael's problem, or Susan's problem, or Peter's problem, or 321's problem. So now, but what I do know is I know all the job searching problems that you could possibly have. That's because I'm old and I've been doing this a long time. But I know you might not know how to identify the right companies. You might not know how to put a resume together. You might not know where to put the resume, as in not in the applicant trashing system. Your problem might be you're going at the systems and trying to find and surface interviews that way when that's not the fastest way. Okay, so you have a job searching problem. Maybe you have absolutely no trouble surfacing interviews, but when you get into the interview, you can't get past the interview. Because even though you're super smart, you have no idea of how to sell yourself. You have no idea what they're looking for. You don't know how to answer job interview questions, whatever it is. Maybe you want to change careers and you're not quite sure. You don't know what you don't know, so you're not quite sure where to start. You're not quite sure where to look. You're not quite sure if you're going to like that. Maybe you live in the UK and you want to move to the US, and that's harder than moving from the UK from one city to another. So there's a whole host of problems. So I know what all of those are. I could rip them off the top of my head if I had 5 minutes to sit still. You can definitely identify the top 5, 6, half a dozen, or 10 problems that a team would have in achieving the goal. You don't have to be exactly right that they have the problems, but the fact that you have a pretty holistic inventory of what those potential problems can be will really help you sell yourself, because maybe you've already handled those problems and addressed those problems and learned how to overcome them from previous work that you've done. Or even if you have not, the fact that you know the problems could potentially exist as part of your preparation, you can identify solutions to overcome these problems. But you might be able to ascertain the goals and the problems throughout the interviewing process, so that at the point you need to put this presentation together, probably a little bit more down the end, or maybe midway or toward the end of the interviewing process, you already have some of this, or you've been able to validate some of this. But even if you haven't validated, if this is the first thing they want you to do, you can still do these steps, because you can ask them, generally speaking, these are the top 6 problems you'll encounter when you're trying to expand into that European region, whatever it is. Who's tracking so far? You get where I'm going with this? And why are these so important? Because this is what will transform them. You have a job searching problem. I squash job searching problems, which means you're going to overcome this problem and you're going to be happy in your new job. And I know this to be true because I get dozens of emails and DMs every day from people who's been helped by my material. So this is what I know I do. I help them transform that way. So this is what you're trying to do in advance, and this is what you need to do even before you fill out your resume, because you want to show and highlight how you've done these things. But as part of your presentation, this is number 1, this is number 2. This is what you have to get down, and the faster you can get this down, the better. And then I see somebody saying problem with employer problems, they're not always aware of their issues. Even better, you're going to show them the latent pain that they don't even know they have. And then you're an absolute genius and you'll get hired. And so their problem becomes an advantage for you. Their lack of awareness, their lack of understanding gives you an opportunity to show them where the latent pain is. And that's even better. And I want the person who's helping me understand what I'm going to encounter, because they are so skilled and experienced at it that I don't know what I don't know. And you're going to come here and you're going to fix me. Okay? Next thing you're going to say, well, here's how I solved that. Here's how I solved these problems. Here's how I solved them. What are you going to use in your presentation? You're going to have a power story or a project that you did, or you're going to have a case study. So what are these? All right. So when you understand their goals and you understand their actual problems or their potential problems or the possible problems, however you want, you're going to come up with whatever your claim to fame is and how you've solved this in the past. So when I say a power story, for those of you that don't speak Coach Andy, that's effectively the story in your background or the project in your background or the scenario in your background or whatever it is, the accomplishment that you've helped an organization attain that is as close as possible to what you need to do in the future with that employer. So have you implemented a customer relationship management system for a business-to-business services company? If you have, and that's what we are, and that's what we're hiring you to do, I want to know, where have you done that before? This would all be synonymous. And because the data that goes along with you sharing your power story or you sharing your case study is all the same data. And if you're not familiar what goes into a power story, you're in luck, because I have a video on my YouTube channel about a job interview formula guaranteed to get you hired. You can check that out. And I also have an upcoming workshop, depending on when you're watching this. If you're here with me live, it's September 10th and 11th, where I'm going to break down how to do these. We're going to do a 2-day free workshop on Zoom. It's a 4-part workshop where I'm going to break down each section of my CAAR technique that helps you tell your power stories. And we're going to do the C and then the A and then the A and the R, and I'm going to teach, and then we're going to go and we're going to role play, and we're going to go through real life examples. So keep your eye out for that. That's coming really soon. All right. But what you're going to do is you're going to come up with the most analogous scenario, and you're going to explain what transpired. And here's what the scenario was. Here's what the challenge was. Here's the context, which is what my C stands for. Here's why we were doing what we were doing. Here's how I did it. Here's the benefits that they had. So here's how I solved it. Now you can stick to the here's how, because you're ultimately going to get to, and here's what exactly happened. Those specific outcomes for the other players that I did this for, whether that's an internal team, customers, or your company, or your community, or whoever it was. But then number 4 should be, these were the results. So what you're doing is you're showing them that if these are your goals and these are your potential problems, here is where I've done that before. These were the specific outcomes, and then these are the specific skills I used. So you want to call their attention to the exact skills. And I use these skills and experience in order to create the whatever. I used my financial analysis skills to create the business case that contained the financial assessment that proved the project was going to be viable, it was going to have an excellent payback period, great benefits, and so on. You can list them, you can map them, however it is. But what you do not want to do is you do not want to actually do this first. Why? Big mistake. When I don't have any frame of reference in the application of your skills or experience, they are meaningless to me. You saying you have X years of experience doesn't do anything for me. I don't know. But if you show me what you did to help an organization actually achieve something by overcoming problems, and you wrap that into a story-like format, what you're ultimately doing is you're helping me with the believability factor. You're helping me with additional deduction, because by the time you get to here, I will have already assumed you have all the skills I need. So at this point, all you're doing is you're reiterating for them specifically what you know, but you've already provided evidence of the fact. And whenever you're telling a story in an interview, you do not say, I have this experience and I have that experience. You tell it in a story format. And as I'm listening to your story, I'm deducing your skills. If she's able to do that, she must know this. She must have this skill. She must know how to analyze those problems. She must understand how to research. She must be organized. She must be influential if she was able to sell the project to begin with. I'm doing all of that while you're telling me the story. So it's really, really important that by the time you get to the fifth point, you've already won it. Now, one of the things that I want to show you here is a little snapshot. Okay, I know this card might be a little hard to read, but go with me on this. So one of the things that I used to do when I was working for consultancies, and we would go and pitch proposals and do presentations that were probably not much unlike what I just explained to you. The only difference was we were selling multi-million-dollar projects, and we needed to show them that we knew how to do whatever it was that they needed us to do and that we could do it efficiently. But not only that, they will be successful, but we also have a track record of success. Same thing. So what I used to do in the proposals, what I would put literally a slide for each case study that I would discuss. For you, this could be a project, and you could put multiple projects in the back of your presentation. Even if you don't get to all of them, you can show more evidence of the fact, and these are very simple. Upper left quadrant, here's the scenario. These were the goals, and these were the problems of the organization, my client organization, whatever it was. The solution and the process that I went through was this. Here's the methodology we used to implement the blah, blah. We implemented it with these steps and this software product and these organizational changes and these process improvements, whatever it was. These are the resources that we used in order to pull that off. In your case, you could put your skill sets. You could put other resources if you want. But for purposes of this presentation, we're primarily focusing on your skill sets. And then here are the results. Here's the case study, and here's what happened for this team, for this organization, for my boss, for my board of directors, for my customers, for my shareholders, for my clients, for my partners, and here were the benefits. And you put a quad together that is literally a snapshot and a summary of these guys, what the goals were. Just to recap it very quickly, what the problems were. Here's the approach, the process, the case, the project, whatever it is that is going to prove that you actually did it. Here were the specific outcomes that occurred from the project, from the effort, whatever that is. Here are the particular skills I used and how they map to what I did and what you need me to do. And here's a pretty little picture. And then there's some more pictures that I will leave with you because I'm so awesome. And you could go off and be regaled while I'm not even here. And you can just look through the booklet of all those things that I've done throughout my life. So when you give the presentation, I would concentrate on these areas. But when you leave, I always want a leave behind. I want you to leave them those case studies. So that's how I would do it. I'm about a minute off. I wanted to do this in 20. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, make sure to click the thumbs up button, the like button on the, whether this is you're on the live stream or you're on the recording. And if you have not subscribed to the station, please do so. If you're here with me live, we're going to the Q&A. If you're watching this on the recording, I will see you next week.